Welcome to Pawnee, Indiana, the greatest town in America, the fourth obese city in America, and home to Sweetums and everybody's favorite mini horse, Little Sebastian. Today, we will be talking about one of the greatest television shows of all time, Parks and Recreation. Over the course of this podcast, we will be discussing iconic characters, memorable moments, and how an original spin-off of The Office idea turned into something greater. I am your host, William DeVere, and let's talk about Parks and Rec. Let's begin the podcast by starting it. The first thing we are going to talk about is the first thing we are going to talk about. Today, we are going to discuss the amazing, the incredible Andy Dwyer. So this is Chris Pratt, pre-Hollywood. Chris Pratt was very unknown at the time at Parks and Rec. He wasn't Peter Quill or Star-Lord. He wasn't in Jurassic World. He wasn't Mario in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This is pre-Hollywood Chris Pratt. And first, I believe it was his first role. He did an amazing job portraying Andy. Andy is amazing. So I hope neighbor isn't listening to this, but I have a neighbor who is just like Andy. Sorry if you know who you are. I love having you as a neighbor, but you are so much like Andy, just saying. So Andy is amazing. We love him. He's like a golden retriever dating a vicious cat, and that's April. So Andy's just beloved. He's funny, he's childlike, he's everything you want a character to be in Parks and Rec. You need the character who is a jokester, who is childlike, and it's just pretty funny to see. Chris Pratt is such a great comedic actor, and I really wish in Hollywood he could portray more comedic roles. I mean, he is a good action star, but this isn't his prime. Chris Pratt is Andy Dwyer, and I really hope Chris Pratt ever thinks about doing a comedic role again because he rocked. But we need to talk about Andy's character arc. So Andy was only supposed to appear in the first 6 episodes of season 1. He was supposed to leave right after Anne broke up with him, but producers really loved Chris Pratt and his chemistry and charm. Like, even if you can tell in the last episode, like, he was describing all the different names of Mouse Rat, and that was probably the first funniest scene of the show, and it was all because of him. And I believe Chris Pratt improvised that, so way to go, Chris. But Andy came off as a creep in the first season. I mean, a little bit in the second season when he lives in the pit right next to Anne's house. I mean, that comes across very creepy, but you know, it's Andy. Andy's doesn't know what to do with his life yet, but at first Andy came off as helpless, like he was bossing Anne around, and he kind of came across as rude, and that's not Andy. That is why season 1 in so many ways is different from the rest of the show. But thankfully, Greg Daniels and Michael Schur were able to get Andy's act together to make him this beloved teddy bear of a character. So thank you, Leslie, for getting him out of that pit and getting him to City Hall, where his true love is, April Ludgate. So what I love so much about Andy is all of his characters. You have April as Judy Hitler and Janet Snakehole, and Andy has his characters too. He has Burt Macklin, FBI. One of my favorite episodes of the show is when a pie hits Gary, Larry, Terry, Jerry's face, and Andy gives everyone nicknames. Ben does not like it. Chris loves it because Chris loves everything. Chris is amazing, and he called and Been There, Done That, which when I was watching, I remember I spit my drink out because it was so funny. So with Andy as Burke Maplin FBI, he tries to recreate the pie thing with Jerry, and it goes all over Jerry's face. And I don't think Andy cares. Andy is not nice to Jerry, and we're going to talk about it later. But as we transition to Johnny Karate. So Johnny Karate, I believe, came in the 6th season after the Pawnee Eagleton merger, after he went to London and all that stuff. And Johnny Karate is very funny. He had his own show. They dedicated a whole episode to that, which is a very funny moment. If you go on YouTube, Parks and Rec YouTube channel, you can see all the digital exclusives from that episode. They deleted a great thing with Pert where he gives his movie reviews, and they're really rhetoric and all that cool stuff. But it's the same episode where the Verizon Exxon Chipotle merger and Punch Burger, and you have Barry the Mailman. We cannot forget Barry the Mailman. And I just love Johnny Karate. We talked about this before, but now we're going to talk about Mouse Rat. So when he lists all the different names of Mouse Rat, it is hilarious in season 1, like I said. It is the first moment, this isn't this copy of The Office. This could be something great. And they used that transitioning into season 2, where they included more of Chris Pratt's charm to portray Andy in a more sensible light. So, which is really cool because Chris Pratt had a lot of improvised stuff in the show. He was probably no one can beat Amy Poehler. Amy Poehler is the queen of improv, along with Tina Fey. But Chris Pratt came really close. But I just love Mouse Rat. When he breaks his arm in season 2, they're called Rat Mouse, and they're horrible. And I love when he says, the show must go wrong, of course. So I just love Mouse Rat, everything about it, what it represents. Now I'm going to be talking about Andy and Ann. Like I said, this relationship didn't work. It was all wrong so many ways. And Andy was basically trying to be babied all the time. And it came across as not a good relationship. I did not like their relationship, but what I didn't like even more was Andy, Ann, and Mark's love triangle. I thought that was kind of, I felt they could have gotten to him and April closer, but they wasted so much time trying to impress Ann and trying to hurt Mark, where Mark wouldn't even last that long because Ann realized what all of us thought. He's boring. So good for Ann for breaking up with Mark. Good for Mark for getting out of Pawnee in the Parks and Rec universe. And thank you, Andy, for finding April. Andy and April are my second favorite couple in the show. I still love Ben and Leslie. They have a special place in my heart. But Andy and April are an unusual couple. They're both a lot alike and a lot different. But their golden retriever and cat Wednesday personalities come in really handy when they go shopping for home supplies, because Andy put his income taxes in the freezer, and their house was a mess, and they wanted to buy this marshmallow shooter, and it's really funny to see. I love their wedding. Their wedding is the greatest way to have a wedding. They just got married. They probably woke up one day and said, "Hey, Andy, let's get married." And or it was the other way around, and Andy said, "Hey, April, I have the best idea today. Let's get married." And April's like, "Oh, okay." I just love those two. Just love the wedding. You have April's former boyfriend and his boyfriend as the flower boys, and you have April's sister giving a speech at the wedding, which is really cool. And you have the best dog ever, three-legged dog ever, Champion. I just love Champion. He's so great and stuff. Now we're going to talk about Andy and Ron. So Andy and Ron is another great relationship. I don't think Andy really had that much parent paternal support in his life, as we can see in season 1. But Ron really taught him how to like grow up and was always there to support him when he went to take women's studies at the community college and him at the shoe size stand. I think Ron cared about Andy. He saw something in Andy that other people necessarily didn't see. And it's just one of a great relationship. It's so pure in my heart. Andy and Leslie, I gotta hand it to Leslie. You got Andy out of the pit. You got him out of one of the creepiest characters on television and turned into one of the lovable characters on television. You're our hero, Leslie. But Andy is not nice to Jerry. Like, he makes fun of Jerry along with April and Tom. Like, when he came back from London, he didn't know that Jerry's name was now Larry, and he said, "Take a hike, Jerry." And Jerry's like, "It's Larry now." "All right, take a hike, Larry." And like, when Jerry retired, like, Andy didn't even listen. He said, "See you tomorrow." And it just goes to show how much Andy is ignorant around Jerry. Can someone just love Jerry? Even Leslie doesn't like him. Even Leslie puts it down. Leslie freaking Nope, who's supposed to be this nice character. We just need to hug Jerry and tell him it's okay and to get better friends, because Jerry's a pretty cool guy. But as always, we end with our top 5 favorite Andy moments. So coming in at number 5 is going to be a surprising one because I contradicted. Was Dinner with Andy, Mark, and Ann, season 2, episode 3, Beauty Pageant. So I kind of am contemplating why I put that on the agenda for this podcast. I feel like I could have picked a better moment, but I like that moment because it's Ann saying, "Is there going to be any reason for dessert?" But at the end, he said, "This went amazing. We had dinner. We talked. We got together." And Andy thought he was back with Ann, but nope. But actually, another great moment is coming in at number 4. Andy goes to doctor, season 4, episode 12, Campaign Problem. Okay, I don't think Andy's ever been to a doctor in his life. Like, you can obviously see that as he goes visits Dr. Harris, Dr. Harris is one of my favorite characters on the side characters. If he wasn't a doctor, him and Ron would definitely be best buds. I think Dr. Harris is funny. And Andy says about all these weird, like, things he has, how his thumb doesn't bend and how, like, he hit his head and there's, like, something, like, he can't, like, taste something. And I love how Dr. Harris says, "Well, I can treat you for the thumb, but you're going to need referrals to all the other 1,000 things." And April says, "Thanks, Dr. Harris." And Dr. Harris says, "Oh, you're welcome." And coming in at number 3 is 5,000 Candles in the Wind. Why can't we ever forget Little Sebastian's farewell song? That song is amazing. Shame on you, Ben, because you don't get Little Sebastian. We all do. Ben, it's probably because you failed as mayor. And people in Partridge, Minnesota probably hate you. They do hate you, by the way. But I'm getting off topic. Coming in at number 2 is Internet Connectivity Problems, season 3, episode 2, The Flu. Now, this is a great Chris Pratt improv moment. Chris Pratt is hilarious in that moment. Like, it just came on his screen and says, "Leslie, I typed your illness into the web up here and it said you could have internet connectivity problems." It just comes out of nowhere, and it's so funny how he actually thinks that's what she has, but in reality, it's the computer. But finally, coming in number 1 is Andy and April go to the Grand Canyon. So Andy and April go on this trip thinking it's the last day of the world. And Andy goes to Grand Canyon and he's disappointed because he thought there were going to be all the heads there. And it was really Mount Rushmore. But April realized, oh, it's Mount Rushmore. But, Andy probably doesn't know his Grand Canyon from his Mount Rushmore. So that is all the time we had today. I love talking about Andy today. Andy's amazing. He's funny. And I want to say sorry to my neighbor who I kind of similarized to Andy just a little bit. Hope you're not watching. I really hope you're not watching this. And on next week's episode, we will be talking about Aziz Ansari's Tom Haverford. Now, I have a lot of interesting things to say about Tom. He's kind of definitely out of the original, kind of my least favorite, but there are Tom moments that are just great. But that is all we have for today. Join us next time, and see you later on Parks and